Welcome back, music students. This is the second video for beginner piano lessons. So we're going to build on some things we already talked about in video number 1. Hopefully you already know the layout of the keyboard, the roadmap, how to find octaves, and the fact that only 12 notes actually exist and those repeat over and over again. Today's objective is to use those octaves to start learning our chromatic scales. Okay? Now anytime I say the word scale, I'm talking about the building blocks of all music, right? If we have checkpoints, home base notes that give us structure, that structure can help us to make pretty music, okay? So our first scale we're learning is the chromatic scale. Let's just get right into it by choosing an octave, okay? Look at the group of 2 black notes, and I want to touch the white note right in the center of that, all right? Let's play that octave. That's a D note, by the way, and we're going to talk more about letter names in the next video, but today we're still not worried too much about labeling our notes. We just want to get started playing. So we chose an octave because that's going to be my home base note. That's going to be my checkpoint to start and finish the scale. Remember, scale is all about structure. Where are the boundaries? Where are the home base notes? Okay. To play your chromatic scale, we're going to play everything in between the boundaries, all 12 consecutive half steps. Okay, pause. What's a half step? It's just really important to throw in this info. Since we're learning a chromatic scale, we need to get that vocabulary term out of the way here. A half step is this distance between these 2 notes right here. That's a half step. So one more time, a half step is a distance. And this would be another example of a half step. 2 neighboring notes on the keyboard. One more example. This is a half step distance right here. Okay. Now we know 2 different types of intervals now. We know an octave and we know a half step. Okay, the chromatic scale that we're learning today plays all consecutive half steps. That means we're not going to skip any notes. We have to play all the half step neighbors, okay? Let's find those octaves. Those are the home base notes. Just start and stop at those notes without missing a single half step. Here's my first example. Alright, I started at my checkpoint. I stopped at my checkpoint. I didn't miss a note. That's a full chromatic scale. Now we can just play upwards or downwards or up and down or down and up. Okay? Here's another example. Okay? That was another example of the same chromatic scale. So if we know one chromatic scale, we know all 12, right? All you need to do is identify an octave and then play all the half steps in between, right? So we could also play a different chromatic scale just like this. Okay? All you need to make good music is some structure. So identify your home base notes by choosing an octave and then play that chromatic scale, right? Just practice one at first, but you can really practice all 12, right? Because you can choose 12 different home base notes. Not all at the same time, but one at a time, yeah. Practice 12 chromatic scales. Okay, so we've learned what is a chromatic scale. We've learned what is a half step. And we already knew the other interval we talked about was an octave. We need that to get our home base notes for the scale. The last thing I want to let you go with here before you start practicing is the correct fingering pattern for chromatic scales, because it's super easy and I want you to get some finger skills, okay? We're alternating between our white and black keys most of the time during the chromatic scale. When we do that, I want to number our fingers here to just use 2 particular fingers most of the time. Our thumb is finger number 1 and our ring finger is finger number 3. So the fingers go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The pinky's 5, the thumb is 1, okay? When we alternate in and out of these 3 black keys right here, we're just going to use finger number 1 on the white keys, finger number 3 on the black keys. So this is what I mean. right? It allows us to be quick if we just use the same fingering pattern. Anytime we're going back and forth from white to black, we're going from finger number 1 to finger number 3. Here it is. Okay, now I don't want to have you practicing that super fast all the time at first, but just that's the correct fingering pattern that will allow you to practice faster later. Okay, same thing applies when we alternate with these two black keys right here. Just use your thumb and your ring finger to work on the chromatic scale. Now, when you have to transition with these two white keys that are next to each other, we just add in our pointer finger to help make up the difference. So we go thumb, ring, thumb, pointer, ring. That's the transition right there. Thumb, pointer, ring. Because it kind of flows in the hand really nicely. Same thing is going to happen on our next transition spot. Thumb, pointer, ring. Okay, now that we know how to alternate white to black and how to transition with the double white keys, thumb, pointer, ring, that can allow you to really build up some finger skills to play a long, quick chromatic scale. So here's just one example. And you want to be able to work on those finger skills in the right hand, but also the left. The same exact fingering pattern is going to apply with the left hand. Watch slowly once. Thumb, ring, thumb, pointer, ring, thumb, pointer, ring. Right? So the same fingering pattern happens in both hands for that chromatic scale. What I want you to practice, based on what we talked about in today's video, is pick an octave, any octave, choose those home-based notes, and then practice the correct fingering pattern for that particular chromatic scale. This is going to take some time. I recommend going slowly, but just, try some different chromatic scales out. Just choose a new home base and try that fingering pattern. Alright, so now we're using our octaves to our advantage. We know a full chromatic scale, and we can practice 12 different types of chromatic scales, right? Just depends which home base you choose. Maybe you choose this one, maybe you choose this one, maybe you choose this one. But no matter where you start and stop, you want to be practicing those chromatic scales to start working on the fingers, okay? Please let me know if you got any questions or if I was confusing or helpful in this video. Hope you enjoyed. We'll start talking more about major scales in video number 3. Thanks, y'all.